For more than 20 million years, one question about saber-toothed cats seemed permanently unanswerable. Not their iconic fangs or their power as apex predators, but their true genetic relationship to modern cats. The long-held saber-toothed tiger misconception symbolized convergent evolution at its most dramatic. Yet these ultimate killers could never have passed a modern genetic relatedness test. Then in 2021, the first nuclear genome study of Smilodon produced results so contradictory they made headlines around the world. And in 2025, breakthrough full mitogenomes and nuclear data delivered an answer no one expected. But the answer wasn't what the headlines said. It was stranger. To understand what that DNA revealed, you have to go back to the frozen grasslands and tar pits of Pleistocene North and South America. Among the megafauna roamed the most famous saber-toothed cats of all time, Smilodon fetalis in North America and its even larger cousin Smilodon populator in South America, along with the saber-toothed Homotherium. These were not just big cats. They were specialized killing machines with 7-inch-long saber-like canines designed to slash the throats of giant prey like mammoths, brown sloths, and bison. Thousands of their skeletons have been recovered, especially from the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, where over 2,000 Smilodon individuals became trapped in the sticky asphalt while ambushing struggling prey. When the first fossils were described in the 19th century, scientists classified them as giant felines closely related to lions and tigers. They were popularly known as saber-toothed tigers, a name that stuck despite being scientifically inaccurate. As the Ice Age ended around 10,000 years ago, these predators vanished along with most of their megafauna prey. Climate change, human hunting pressure, and shrinking genetic diversity all played roles in their extinction. Early paleontologists debated the strange features of their skulls, incredibly powerful bite muscles, but surprisingly weak jaws. In a world filled with giants, their deadly elegance masked a deeper truth about their place on the tree of life. A truth that would only be revealed when ancient DNA finally spoke. After their discovery, 19th and 20th century classifications treated Smilodon as the classic saber-toothed tiger, closely related to modern big cats like lions and tigers. This view dominated paleontology textbooks, museum exhibits, and popular culture for generations. Later minor theories suggested more distant relationships, or that the saber-tooth morphology was the result of convergent evolution with other carnivores. Mainstream paleontologists dismissed these alternative ideas for decades. Without molecular evidence, scientists relied almost entirely on skeletal morphology, particularly the skull and teeth. Over time, the scientific consensus settled on saber-toothed cats as members of the Felidae family, assuming they were part of the same lineage as living cats, potentially capable of interbreeding with them if they had survived. And so the mystery remained open but quiet while the catkin assumption persisted in every museum exhibit and textbook. Then came the DNA, rewriting the history of these apex predators. In 2021, 2 landmark studies changed everything. Martin Westbury and his team published the first draft nuclear genome of Smilodon populator from a South American specimen, while another team led by Johanna Pagemans sequenced complete mitogenomes from both La Brea tar pit and Patagonian fossils. The results were unexpected. The genetic data revealed a deep divergence of approximately 20 to 22 million years ago from all living felids. Smilodon and its relative Homotherium formed their own distinct evolutionary clade, completely separate from the lineage that gave rise to modern cats. It seemed like the final blow to the old classification. For the first time, genetics showed that the iconic saber-tooths were far more evolutionarily distant than anyone had imagined. But the story was more complicated than any headline could contain. Preservation in tar pits created significant contamination challenges, and the early nuclear genome was only a low-coverage draft. While provocative, the findings weren't fully conclusive, and left important questions about extinction drivers and precise relationships within the saber-tooth group still open. The field needed definitive full genomes, and for over a century, that seemed impossible. In 2025, advanced full mitogenome and high-coverage nuclear sequencing was performed on additional Smilodon and Homotherium remains. In 2025, advanced full mitogenome and high-coverage nuclear sequencing was performed on additional Smilodon and Homotherium remains from La Brea tar pits and South American cave sites. The project was led by paleogeneticist Dr. Ross Barnett and his international team at the University of Copenhagen. Building directly on the 2021 studies and recent de-extinction research at Colossal Biosciences. The bones, preserved in tar and permafrost, had waited in museum collections for decades until improved extraction protocols allowed near-complete genomes. They compared the sequences against a comprehensive database of confirmed modern and ancient felid reference genomes, including lions, tigers, and cheetahs. This was the moment the century-old question began to crack open. The match meant two things simultaneously. First, the genomes were genuinely Pleistocene-era, free of modern contamination, and showed unbroken lines consistent with a separate subfamily, Machaerodontidae. The lineage had diverged from all living cats around 20 million years ago, with zero evidence of gene flow or hybridization. Second, the genetic isolation was absolute. If saber-toothed cats had been true members of the modern cat family, their DNA would have clustered within the feline subfamily. But the chain was entirely separate. This simultaneously authenticated the fossil's profound evolutionary isolation and closed the big cat theory forever. Further findings from the same 2025 sequencing confirmed specialized genes for saber bite mechanics, including amplified jaw-closing muscle proteins and reinforced skull sutures that enabled the iconic downward stabbing motion. Traces of extremely low genetic diversity appeared, consistent with late Pleistocene inbreeding in shrinking populations. There were no modern cat markers at all. The profile was purely divergent, with unique adaptations for hypercarnivory that living felids never evolved. These tied directly to the paleoecological context. As modern felids like lions and jaguars invaded the Americas, competition for prey intensified, and the saber-tooth's rigid specialized genome left them unable to adapt to smaller game after the megafauna vanished. Paleogeneticist Dr. Ross Barnett called the finding personally and evolutionarily significant after years of research. We now understand why these magnificent predators disappeared so completely. Their bloodline was magnificent, but tragically isolated. When the documentary titled Saber-Toothed DNA, The Real Story, aired on Channel 4 in January 2026, the criticism was immediate and fierce. Paleogeneticists condemned the program as a deluge of misinformation and bad science. Dr. Beth Shapiro at UC Santa Cruz called it an ethical nightmare of de-extinction hype that risked misleading the public. Others warned that linking the sequencing to speculative revival projects like Colossal Biosciences created false hope about bringing back saber-toothed cats, when true resurrection remains scientifically and ecologically impossible. The deeper objection was ethical. By sensationalizing the genomes for dramatic television, critics argued the documentary was exploiting ancient DNA, rather than respecting the careful science behind understanding extinct species. What remains after the headlines and the controversy is something quieter and more durable. The predators long assumed to be giant cats carried a fully distinct, fully ancient felid ancestry that would have defied every assumption of their own era. Not because of misclassified fossils, not because of pop culture rumors, but because their own bloodline was exactly what evolution hid, convergent yet isolated. Dr. Ross Barnett said it plainly. If a saber-toothed cat could have seen its own genetic results, it would have recognized a magnificent predator that was never truly a cat at all. A branch of the feline tree that evolution pruned long ago. Today, the fossils and genomes still exist in museum collections and databases. The research awaits full peer review. If the saber-toothed cat's DNA tells us anything definitive, it may be this. The obsession with familial bloodlines and evolution was always more complicated than anyone imagined. If you want more stories where DNA flips paleontology on its head, hit subscribe because the next one is even crazier than this.